I'll be talking about my predictions for the conference finals and the two game 7 recaps of yesterday in the conference semifinals for the Pacers versus Knicks and the Timberwolves versus Nuggets. We'll start off with the recaps and then go into my predictions for these matchups. Let's get into the first game that we had yesterday, the Knicks versus Pacers. Pacers are able to win and advance to the conference finals for the first time since 2014 with Paul George. Tyrese Halliburton went insane. The Pacers as a whole went insane. 67% from the field was their field goal percentage, which is crazy. That was the record in NBA history for playoff games by 6%, which is insane. Everything was dropping in the first half. Halliburton making a ton of threes. Siakam mid-range. Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith at the third quarter hit a lot of mid-range shots. And also, Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell making some tough layups. Everything just went well for the Pacers, and for the Knicks, it was a whole different story. DiVincenzo was good and Burks, but the rest of the team couldn't really hit that much shots. And OG Anunoby tried to come back, but after 5 minutes, left the game with his hamstring injury. Willis Reed type of game, but he scored 5 points, but it didn't matter because the Knicks ultimately lost in a blowout. Josh Hart also didn't do as well. He's also injured, and Brunson broke his hand, fractured his hand on the play where Halliburton hit a layup, and after that, it was basically over for the Knicks. If they're fully healthy, the Knicks definitely should have won this series, but they had like 5 injuries plus Brunson and Hartenstein and DiVincenzo a little bit banged up, so next season is bright for the Knicks though. And for the Pacers side, this is a crazy conference finals run. No one would have thought Pacers would have beat the Bucks and the Knicks. Although not healthy, they were still hard matchups. And the Pacers did well. At home, they're still undefeated. And Halliburton has been shaky, but Siakam definitely has been really good this playoffs. Definitely that trade for Siakam was one of the best trades that a team has done for the playoffs at least. And their young core is still here. Mathurin has been injured the whole playoffs too. One of their best scorers. So they still got a lot of room. Next, we got the Nuggets Timberwolves, which was an insane game 7. Nuggets were up by 20 in the start of the third quarter. Jamal Murray was hitting a lot of shots, going berserk against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Jokic was finding his rhythm. But in the second half, Anthony Edwards started to pick it up after going 1 of 9 from the first and second quarters, and then Jaden McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns continue to become great offensive players in this game, being excellent from the field. Cat especially was really good both sides, offense and defense, this game. Probably his best playoff game in his whole career, and he's starting to become a good playoff, which in previous years was not the case at all. And he's changing the narrative of him being a playoff choker. Same thing with Rudy Gobert. Really good defense today with Naz Reid also blocking Jokic twice. But Rudy was really good and hit that clutch fadeaway, which no one thought would have went in, to help the Minnesota Timberwolves get that 4-point lead, which they never let go. That shot probably was one of the biggest shots in the game. And he's shaking off the narrative that he's a bad defender in the playoffs, where he is not a defensive player of the year type player, but he's been really good this series and in Game 7. And same for Naz Reid. He's been really good in this series. Made a bunch of clutch rebounds and shots, especially the putback dunk. Same with Karl-Anthony Towns with his putback dunk. And then we can't talk about the Timberwolves without talking about Anthony Edwards, who in the fourth quarter, especially the third quarter though, played really good defense on Jamal Murray, got a ton of steals, made that step back three on Aaron Gordon to end the quarter, and then in the fourth quarter hit that clutch three to bring the lead to 10. And then underrated is Mike Conley, who did really well and hit some really timely shots, like that three-pointer on Jamal Murray to give a three-point lead, where it was really hard to shoot that three-pointer, but he got it with the fake. And then Jamal Murray and Jokic just did not execute in the fourth quarter. Jokic missed a lot of threes that were wide open, but he was exhausted, and his teammates were not helping at all. Gordon only had 4 points. Michael Porter Jr. only had 7. KCP only had 5. And the bench only had 5 points in total with Christian Braun. And then for the other side, the role players stepped up. Conley did well. Jaden Mateos, Naz Reid, and the Stars also played well. And the Timberwolves making it to the conference final for the first time is really cool to see for them. The second time in their franchise history, which is insane. 20 years ago exactly, they made their first one. And they have a real shot at championship. Now let's talk about my predictions for these conference finals matchup. We have the Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves for the Western Conference, and the Eastern Conference we have the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. So I'm just gonna say for the Eastern one, I have the Celtics in 6, possibly 5, but I'll give them Pacers 2 games because of their electric offense, and they have beaten the Boston Celtics in some kind of high-stakes situation, I guess, in the in-season tournament. Halliburton has to do really well in this series, though, for them to win. Their offense has to do really well in general because Celtics defense is really good. Jrue Holiday and Derek White can help clamp their players. And for the Pacers, another great thing is for their bench depth to be better than the Celtics. Big key. TJ McConnell and Obi Toppin, especially, who have been leading the playoffs in points off the bench, have to continue to do that since the Celtics are really good at the starting lineup, and their starting lineup is probably going to outscore the Indiana starting lineup unless, Indiana always has a great offense. But Boston also has a really good offense and defense. Another key for Indiana is their defense. So they're just too many, not that much experience as well, except Siakam. With the Celtics, they have a ton of experience, so I feel like Celtics are going to win, especially with Porzingis coming back in around the middle of the series. Celtics in 6. Next, we have the Mavericks versus Timberwolves. This can go either way, but I have the Minnesota Timberwolves in 7 because of their length. Now, the Dallas Mavericks also have really great big men, Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, but Minnesota playing 2 big men at a time means someone like PJ Washington's guarding Cat, which could hurt them. And the Timberwolves' perimeter defense is insane. They could put Anthony Edwards on Luka. They can put Nickeil Alexander-Walker on Luka. They can put Jaden McDaniels on Luka. They can even maybe put Kyle Anderson because Luka kind of plays slow too. But also for the Mavericks, they have some solid defenders to put on Ant. But if Ant targets Luka or Kyrie, who has been good defensively, but Ant's just stronger than Kyrie, I feel like that could be a matchup nightmare for the Mavericks. So I have the Timberwolves in 7. But for the Mavericks to win, Luka and Kyrie can step up and their role players to step up. All right, let's do the finals. Timberwolves, Celtics. I have Celtics in 7 because Timberwolves have a great defense, but they kind of rely on Anthony Edwards too much, except for that Game 7. Sometimes their role players don't do well, but for the Celtics, they have so many good players on their starting lineup. I feel like they could also have a good defense on Anthony Edwards with Derek White, Jrue Holiday, even Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. So I have the Celtics winning in 7, along with the Celtics having Porzingis, who can help guard Cat or Rudy Gobert, and Al Horford. So that's basically it. Thank you guys for watching.